Do the new cards suck? We'll talk about upcoming events. We'll talk about an updated tier list. A lot has changed. The meta has shifted quite a bit. So here are thoughts on that and more. We got a lot in this episode. I'm joined by my co-host Willow. Welcome to episode 5 of the Pocket Pod. Let's get into it. All right, so there's a lot of events happening. We got this fire-type mass outbreak event in a couple weeks. Also, we just wrapped up or I guess we're in the middle of the Lapras event. But real quick, let's dive into this one, the fire-type mass outbreak event. Starts in a week and 3 days. We don't know too much about it, right? We just know that there's collecting Arcanine involved.
Yeah, we've got a handful of missions here, sorry, audio-only listeners, but you can see them if you're not an audio-only listener. These missions will be going live when the event goes live. I believe on that, the initial leak for all of these events mentioned that there would be like increased chances of finding fire Pokemon with like no elaboration on what that exactly means. So that's also, I guess that's also on the way. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens when we get this event because it's the first of its kind, right? We haven't had a mass outbreak event yet in Pokemon Pocket, so it'd be interesting to learn what that's all about on November 22nd.
Yeah, I wonder if there will be like a dedicated pack just for it, or if they just increase the drop rate of fire types appearing. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, we don't know too much about that. Hopefully we learn more about that later. But we also just had the Lapras event, and maybe we could talk about these cards here. I think the cards they're okay. They're definitely not what I expected. I thought Lapras would be quite a bit better, and Lapras has kind of fell flat. And I think it's because the retreat cost being so high. I think we're both pretty excited about it, maybe being like a poor man's Articuno, and I guess that's basically still what it is, but having a 3-cost retreat is very, very bad, very slow. Do you like Lapras?
Man, I'm so close to liking Lapras. The 3-cost retreat is definitely its biggest restriction. I definitely didn't weight that enough when I was evaluating Lapras before its release. I was pretty convinced that Lapras was going to be a pretty strong player, definitely not like a meta break or anything like that, but I thought he would be strong enough that there is like a Lapras deck, and everyone knows of the Lapras deck, and it is something that like exists in the meta. But really, when you try to build around Lapras, and personally, I think the best way to play Lapras, even now knowing that he's not a particularly strong card, is just doing similar to like an 18 trainer Articuno list. You do like a 16 trainer Lapras Articuno list. But the problem is, whenever Lapras is in play, you feel pretty bad about it because the 3-cost retreat is so painful. Not being able to get Lapras out of the active, and the fact that you have to be fully committed to Lapras to be able to get any value out of it, right? With Articuno, you can invest 2 energy, maybe you can attack, maybe you can retreat. You have that flexibility once you're at that break point to going to 3, but once you're at 2 energy on Lapras, you're playing that Lapras, and you're doing something with that Lapras, because if you haven't, you've wasted that 2 energy. There's nothing else you can be doing other than committing the extra energy to either retreat or attack, and if you're spending 3 on a retreat, you feel really, really bad, so you're attacking. So once Lapras is in play and in the active, you're like hard committed to doing something with that Lapras, and it just feels so bad when it doesn't pay off.
Yeah, I wish it had 1 energy attack or 2 energy attack. I think that would have made it feel a lot better. Maybe if they combined it like with the other Lapras, that would have been kind of cool. But yeah, the card is just, it's pretty disappointing, I would say. If you don't have 2 Articunos and you want to play 18 trainer, I feel like maybe Lapras kind of fills that spot. But if you do have Articuno, I don't really see a point to run Lapras over it. I've had some really fun decks running like Lapras Butterfree that kind of just can last forever because you're healing like 60 every turn sometimes, but it's not good. It's not good at all. And there's Mewtwo's out there that'll hit for 150. They'll just one-shot this. There's Pikachus out there. They're like rampant. They are everywhere. I've never seen so many Pikachus, so they just like, they got that weakness or that strength, super effectiveness, whatever. But they're just making Lapras not too happy. So unfortunately, Lapras kind of bad, but we do have Mankey. Mankey kind of good, I would say. We were also pretty hyped about this one. Mankey having less health than the other Mankey, the previous Mankey, 60 HP, 1 energy for a low kick doing 20 damage. But this Mankey, 50 HP, 1 energy, reckless charge doing 30 damage, also doing 10 damage to itself, which is perfect for Primeape. How do you feel about Mankey?
I'm pretty impressed with Mankey. I will say he underperformed where I expected him to land. I expected him to be quite strong, but I expected him to be really strong, quite frankly. But Primeape is still underperforming where I expected him to. But that being said, this is still like a pretty decent card. So that's good. It's definitely the better of the two. If you were to compare, like, you know, Mankey's impact on the game compared to Lapras's impact on the game, Mankey's definitely performed better than Lapras. But I still wouldn't say that like Mankey Primeape is like this ultra like meta defining or super impactful card.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of people were really hyped on it, and I do think it's way better than the previous Mankey. But I think the problem is just Primeape is so weak as far as like HP.
Yeah.
If you hit yourself for 10, you're at 80 HP. A lot of things can just kind of finish you off very quickly. But you do 100 damage. And against Pikachu, you do 120 because you're super effective against them. But it's just not that great in general because you're squishy to kind of everything. You kind of get one shot by like a Starmie EX, even though there's not that much Starmie EX out there. You're weak against Psychic, and there's a lot of Mewtwo out there. So that kind of hurts as well. But you can run away with the game. It's pretty good in like an aggro build. But at the same time, I feel like just running a Blaine Fire deck is probably better if you are going for straight aggro. But it's fun, and it's it's better than it was. So
even if you're going for straight aggression in specifically fighting, like for whatever reason you don't want to play fire, I don't think Primeape's your best option. I think going with Marowak is strictly better. It has more reach. Yeah, I think Marowak is just better in every way. I will say, the more and more cards like Primeape and the new Mankey that we get, the more and more I want like a non-EX mode. Like that Primeape is so close to being playable, but just gets outclassed by EX cards so much. But yeah, I do hope one day we do get that magical non-EX mode that people have been begging and pleading for.
That'd be so cool. It'd just be like, you know, instead of them having this event match, it'd be like a non-EX match. Like that'd be so cool. I feel like it'd be easy to implement, and it would totally shake up the meta. So I think that'd be great. I would love to have that. But yeah, that's for covering the new cards. We've talked about the upcoming event. I think another thing we really wanted to talk about was kind of just a tier list. A tier list of decks. I think a lot has changed now that the global launch has happened. People are kind of more comfortable with the game, and I haven't done an actual like deck tier list actually ever. I did like an EX tier list, but this is gonna be a deck tier list, going over like what tier is Mewtwo, what tier is Blaine, what tier is Gengar, and we're both gonna have, you know, our own different ideas. So I think this would be fun to go over. Yeah. So I guess we could start with what we know is S tier, or should we just bounce around?
No, I think that's good. It sets like a benchmark. If we just identify things that are S. When you think of cards or decks that belong in S, what's the first thing that jumps to your mind, Dekkster?
It's Pikachu. Pikachu's S.
All right, Pikachu it is.
Wait,
I agree.
Yeah, well, were you not going to go? You were going to go with Mewtwo. You were going to put Mewtwo up there and S.
Yeah, Mewtwo is the first one that comes to my mind. Okay, I think Mewtwo is the better deck, unironically, but you know, it is what it is. I think that both reasonable candidates would be the best deck in the game. So those are good benchmarks, I think.
I think Pikachu feels better to me than Mewtwo because it just feels so consistent. Where you constantly got a bench. You got Pikachu with constant pressure immediately, so quickly. If you don't have pressure with Pikachu, you have pressure with like a Electrode, I guess, or Zapdos or whatever. With Mewtwo's still S tier, but I think Pikachu's stronger, and I think based on tournament results, I think it's also mostly Pikachu. I haven't seen like the latest results, but a lot of good Pikachu stuff out there. Mewtwo, you need Gardevoir. If you don't get Gardevoir, I feel like it can kind of fall flat. And I sometimes just suck at drawing the perfect curve, like I'm missing either Gardevoir, or I never draw the Corellia or whatever her name is. It's like something happens to me where I feel like Pikachu just feels a bit more consistent.
I will say there are certainly matchups where you don't need the Gardevoir. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely matchups where you do need the Gardevoir, and there's definitely game states where you do indeed need it to be able to make the difference. But there's totally reasonable games where you put Mewtwo in the active, and he just wins with Psychic Sphere into Side Drive, and that's just enough. Yeah, so it's very matchup dependent, but yes, I agree that Pikachu is definitely seeing a lot more play right now. Well, personally, I chalk that up to being, it's kind of like a mass hive mind thing going on right now, where everyone's convinced Pikachu is the best deck in the game. So by virtue of that, sees a lot more play. You know what I mean? Like a reoccurring cycle where someone says Pikachu's the best deck in the game, someone tries Pikachu, and because it is a good deck, everyone else thinks Pikachu's the best deck in the game. Yeah. So there's a bit of that going on right now, and I will say Mewtwo's matchup against Pikachu is probably not favored. So there's kind of, that's another lens to view this through, which is maybe Pikachu is the better deck just because it performs good against the other best deck.
Yeah, I think that's it. Also, Starmie used to be quite popular. I would have even said it was S tier or like the best deck, but now that there's so much Pikachu kind of just rushes it in my experience. So I would put Starmie at A tier. I don't think it's S tier. Whereas if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have definitely put it in S tier. Haven't been seeing as much Starmie lately, I think mostly because of that. So I don't know about you.
Honestly, I wasn't as high on Starmie as everyone else was, even to begin with. So I'm glad I don't have to fight you to bring it down to A. There's a part of me that wants to fight you to bring it down to B, to be honest. But yeah, I think A is a reasonable spot for Starmie. It's super aggressive. 90 damage so consistently is like a huge deal. So
yeah, I think A is a good spot. I mean, we'll fill it out and we'll see if we want to move anything. Maybe we should get something D real quick. I think Gengar's D. Yeah. Unfortunately, I love Gengar. He's such a cool Pokemon, but I can't see him like really competing with these other decks. It takes so long to get him online. His stage 1 Haunter is so dang squishy. I feel like it's hard to get him online, get him start cooking. And it's, if you're gonna play like a psychic sort of deck, it seems like might as well just go for Mewtwo. So I have a lot of fun with Gengar, but I just, something's missing. He's just not good enough in my experience, in my playtesting, and when my opponents are playing him, I kind of just win. I wish you could get Shadowy Spellbind online quicker. It's such a good ability, but it's not great. It's not great, unfortunately.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even think the ability is that great, if I'm being honest. The fact that he has to be in the active spot hurts him so much, because he goes in the active spot and then he's just like a weak attacker compared to, say, something like a Mewtwo or something like a Pikachu or something like some of these stronger cards in the game. It's just like, yeah, the fact that he forces himself into the active slot with his ability, and then once he's there, he can't keep up with the other Pokemon. It's just, yeah, card sucks.
Yeah.
Right now, maybe there's a world where people in the future are running like 16 supporter cards, and now all of a sudden, when we have more supporter cards, and now Haunter, it like needs to see play because you're shutting down like half the opponent's deck. But like for now, where supporters are taking up maybe like 6 to 8 deck slots, it's like by the time Haunter's in play, they've probably already played an Oak or two. They've hit Misty already. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Haunter's in a weird spot.
He takes too long to get online for that ability. I mean, when I do get him online, I'm pretty happy. I'm like, oh, they can't Sabrina me. They can't draw. They can't, yeah. But it's just, he comes online too slow.
Yeah. I feel like Baby Haunter does like the same thing with less investment. Because like he has to be in the active slot as well. He hits for 50, and it only has a 1-cost investment. So, like, I could see a world where Baby Haunter sees play over regular Haunter, but, like, that deck needs an attacker to do something. And then at that point, it's like, why not just play Mewtwo and just kill them instead of disrupting them?
Yeah, I want to mess around with that quite a bit more, but it's like, I just feel like Haunter is too squishy that you can't really transition into that stage 2 very smoothly. Yeah. And then you just get wrecked, but... Yeah. Let's move on to another deck here. What about Alakazam? How do you feel about Alakazam? And what even is like the Alakazam build?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think once you've added your Abra, your Kadabra, and your Alakazam, you throw in a bunch of trainers, and then you just want a thing. I don't know what the partner for Alakazam is. I don't think there's a very clear, like, oh, you know, you need to run, like with Mewtwo, you run Gardevoir. With Starmie, you run Articuno. With Alakazam, I don't know what you put in the other slot, to be honest. But then you need something else other than Alakazam. Like, it can't just be Alakazam. There needs to be something else on the deck. You know what? I think this Alakazam will feel so much stronger one day when we have an Alakazam EX. Because that way you can build the deck around Alakazam, and then like the current Alakazam that we currently have, in addition to the EX, giving you 2 pivot points for the Kadabra to evolve into, and there's some flexibility happening there. But yeah, honestly, the card performs stronger than you would expect. When you read the ability Psychic, you think, oh, this is gonna blow up, you know, the opponent's Charizard because it has so much energy attached to it. But really, the way the math plays out is even against things that invest low amounts of energy, Alakazam's usually killing it. It's just, the problem is it's a stage 2 card, so it requires a lot of setup to be doing what it's doing. And just strictly speaking, mathematically right now, the Mewtwo Gardevoir stuff is more consistent, so it puts Alakazam in like a weird spot. So personally, I would aim to put him in C.
Really? I feel like I would put him in B. Normally when I'm playing Alakazam, I like how flexible he is. He only requires 1 Psychic, so you can pair him with things like Weezing. So I feel like Koga Kazam is what I call it, where you're frontline tanking. You're using both Dark and Psychic energies. Hopefully you get a Dark quickly and you start doing damage with your Weezing while you're building up your Alakazam. If you don't get a Dark, who cares? You just start building up your Alakazam, eventually get 1 Psychic on him, you bounce your front, and then you just start shredding with Alakazam. He's pretty good. Again, he is a stage 2, so it's like inconsistent to get him online sometimes. I've messed with him with Doug Trio, which is kind of fun, but a coin flip, so not S tier, not A tier. I would put him at like B tier. I feel like he's a solid B tier, maybe like at the bottom, but I think the cool thing about Alakazam is that people like haven't found the perfect 20 cards yet. So
yeah,
there's like potential.
Should we maybe let's pause on Alakazam for a second and let's find a good benchmark for B and C, and that way it'll give us a clearer picture of where to put Alakazam. Because right now we just kind of have this amorphous thing with like, oh, this is B, this is C. We should put like a benchmark in there.
That's fair. Okay, we can hold off on him. We can put him here at the bottom.
Yeah.
How about
so who's a B tier deck?
Who's a B tier? I would maybe put Articuno, 18 trainer, in B tier. Do you think it's better than B tier?
No. It's definitely B or C. So I think that's good. What's a C tier deck?
A C tier deck would probably, in my opinion, Marowak. Marowak is C tier.
No. We're gonna fight on that. Put Marowak back. Put Marowak back. He's not going on the list yet. We're
Machamp. Machamp is C tier.
Okay.
Because Machamp, I love Machamp. He's not D tier. He's not Gengar level. And if you curve out and go second with Machamp, I think he could beat any deck. If you go second, you go Machop, hit him. Machoke, hit him. Machamp, hit him. You win. It doesn't matter if it's Mewtwo. It doesn't matter what it is. And if you're playing against Pikachu, you're super effective against them. So with a proper curve and draw, Machamp is great. And I love pairing Machamp with Primeape. So you just have this hyper aggro, but also like it's like a mid-range deck. You probably lose late game if your opponent gets a Mewtwo online, but you curve out really nice and do giga damage. You can also pair him with Marowak, but okay. You're okay with that?
I haven't played much Machamp, but I see the vision of him being C tier. We went through it pretty quick, so just in case you missed it, the person we put in B tier that's Articuno 18 trainer, and I think that's a good benchmark. And now that I have a clearer picture of what B and C are, I'm fine with putting Alakazam in B.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah. So I guess we should talk about Articuno a little bit more. Articuno 18 trainer. I hate this deck. I think you're boring and you smell bad if you play this. But it's just I feel like it's abusing a lot of the mechanics of the game. And I don't think it's that good. A lot of people play this deck. Play Misty. If you get tails, you literally leave.
Well, that might be how some people are playing the deck. I will say you might be seeing more of that play pattern right now just because people are playing in the event queue. So people are just like trying to get their win for their thing. And then if they don't get their win, they're just trying to quickly move on. So people are like farming that because like losses don't matter in that event mode. With that said, I do think 18 Trainer Articuno is pretty good. And I kind of respect the degeneracy of 18 Trainer. It's kind of, you know, maybe it's abusing the game's mechanics, but they built the game that way, you know? So it is what it is, you know? If don't hate the player, hate the game, you know what I mean? If you don't like both. 18 Trainer, well, yeah, true, real. Yeah, I mean, that's true and real.
It's I don't know. It's fine. People used to play the Zapdos version. I haven't really been seeing it. It's just because Articuno can run away with the game with the Misty. Basically, I feel like this lives and dies on Misty. If you get heads at least once on Misty, I feel like you kind of just run away with it. If you get more than that, you kind of auto win. But
man,
yeah,
I want to fight to move Articuno up to A. I'm not gonna lie. I think the deck's really good, but that's okay. It's fine at B. You know,
we'll see. We'll take another pass at it after we've done them all. But like, yeah, we can maybe talk about Venusaur.
Oh, you didn't want to move? I thought you wanted to move Alakazam up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, let's. Okay, yeah, Alakazam B. Yeah, we're okay with this.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Venusaur.
What does your ideal Venusaur list look like? What do you normally pair it with? I have my clear answer. I have a very passionate opinion about it. So
I know your Caterpie line, and I disagree. I really like Lilligant. I like running 2 Lilligant lines with 2 Venusaur lines. Because I feel like Lilligant can tank the front line. She applies a lot of pressure, and she builds up your Venusaur. And 100 HP is a lot. A lot of things are doing 90 damage. Pikachu 90 damage unless they Geo. And then you can heal up and buy a lot of time with Erica, and then your Venusaur is online, and you can't lose. That's been the most successful for me. I've tried the Caterpie, and I think it's not that good.
He doesn't understand. It's okay. You'll catch up one day. One day you'll be playing Caterpie Venusaur on stream, and you'll be like, "Wow, Willow was right about this." But for now, yeah. Where does Venusaur fit in your mind?
I think he's A tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll agree with that.
I think once you get Venusaur online, you win. Like, it's so hard to take him down.
That's why you got to run the Caterpie, so you can draw the Ivysaur and the Venusaur, because once he's in play, he just wins the game. It doesn't matter about this silly Lilligant that's just sitting there being a wall. We can just draw our Ivysaurs, our Venusaurs. It's fine.
I put up my Caterpie. He draws 1 card and he dies, and it's just, faints.
That's fine.
No, it's not enough. I need more frontline than that. I've played the Caterpie build, and to me, it's not that good. We should play each other. We should do some testing here, but I feel like, I really like the Lilligant line. But anyways, I don't think the number 1 Venusaur deck. I feel like it's a slight difference between like Caterpie or Lilligant, or some people run Executor front lines. I don't really like the Executor, but I just hate coin flips. So it's just a good deck. If you get Venusaur online, you win. How you get there, it's maybe plus or minus a couple percent between Caterpie and whatever else, but I like Lilligant, so I'm glad we agree he's A tier though. I don't know if he's better than Starmie, but they're pretty close in my opinion. Let's talk about Dragonite. I know you're a big Dragonite fan. I also like Dragonite quite a bit. I'm curious as to how you build it, and for some reason I feel like it's like Articuno or something.
I think there's a good argument for like Articuno Dragonite, mainly because it gives you a target for Misty, but there's some Dragonite tech I've been trying to keep to myself for a little bit, because I haven't been streaming much, so I've had a lot of time to play around with Dragonite recently and change a couple things in the deck list. It's no secret that I'm a big fan of Hypno Dragonite. I think that's unironically good, by the way. It's not a meme. Hypno Dragonite is real. And I think honestly, I think it's the best partner that Dragonite has. I think it's the clearest partner that Dragonite has.
Really?
But I know there's a lot of people who disagree with that. I know a lot of people like the wheezing Koga stuff with Dragonite. I don't.
Are you you're just tanking with your Hypno while you build up your Dragonite?
Yeah. I'm
like
just, you know.
Wait, Drowsy's 70 HP, right? And then you're just
Drowsy's 70, Hypno's 100. Yeah.
I don't hate it. And then you take out the psychic energy, right?
Oh
yeah.
We never run psychic energy. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I don't hate it. I haven't tried it. What I like Dragonite with is Kangaskhan.
Mm-hmm.
I just put two Kangs. One King dies, maybe does 30 to 60 damage.
Because it's only a 1-cost investment for him to stop being a threat.
Yeah.
I will say there's this weird thing going on where people aren't the best at the game right now, and there's kind of like a psychological game that gets played when you play Kangaskhan. You put an energy on it. Now all of a sudden people see that there's like a threat on the board and they want to be more proactive in their gameplay style, where I feel like if I just put a Drowsy in my active, opponents sometimes won't do anything about it. They'll just sit there and they'll get set up. You know, they're more likely to use Inferno Dance than Heat Blast against a Drowsy because they just see a Drowsy and they're just like, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything about that Drowsy. Who cares? It's just a Drowsy. Meanwhile, I'm over here and I've got more time to set up. But if I put a Kangaskhan on the active and they're like, oh my god, I have to Heat Blast because this Kangaskhan is going to kill my Moltres, I'm going to be sad. So yeah, that's not a particularly good argument one way or another, because I think that's just people misplaying, to be honest. But
yeah, that's pretty funny. You know, I'll have to try it out, but I think I don't know, Kang's been good as long as you just have like a front line and then you have Dragonite, a front line that you don't need to invest energy into. As long as it's not Snorlax, I just can't get behind Snorlax, man. If Snorlax is good in any deck, though, it might be this one. But I just don't like Snorlax.
Any Snorlax and Dre's, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, because if Snorlax is good in Dragonite, the problem is that Baby Mewtwo is strictly better. Baby Mewtwo survives all the same hits that Mewtwo does outside of like extravagant weird stuff that's not going to happen. Mewtwo survives the same hits, and Baby Mewtwo has a 2-cost retreat. So, yeah, unfortunately for Snorlax, Baby Mewtwo, the non-EX Mewtwo, is strictly better in that role.
Yeah.
So, unfortunate Snorlax.
Well, okay. So, anyways, Dragonite, I think is pretty good. I would put him in B tier. Did you want A? You wanted A?
I'll accept B because I'm not willing to passionately fight about it. But I think there's a good argument for him to be an A.
But he's top of B for sure, I think.
Yes,
he's top of B.
The main reason I would want to fight to put him in A is when I look at the rest of B, he is just better than those decks.
Yeah. And I think the problem with Dragonite too is there is a lot of RNG involved once his attack does go off. Generally, if you get it off twice, you kind of win. But sometimes, 3 things hit something really tiny, and like it just you end up throwing.
For what it's worth, when you're resolving Dragonite's effect once, you're usually resolving it twice because he has 160 health. So not a lot of things are going to be able to hit him on or be able to kill him on the revenge hit. And even against targets that would be able to kill him, say like a like a Charizard or like a Mewtwo or something like that, there's a chance that you just killed that target as well. So yeah, I think most of the time, similar to a Venusaur, probably not as high of a percentage of the time, but most of the time, once you have Dragonite in play and the energy to use his attack, you've probably won the game.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I need to hear your thoughts on Marowak, because I think Marowak is not great. Maybe I'm just bad at rolling or flipping heads and you're good at it, or maybe I'm building the deck wrong. But what's your Marowak look like?
My Marowak is the same as what it was like 2 weeks into the beta. It's just Marowak Dungtrio. I'm such a big Marowak fan. I actually love it so much. It's so like the expected value is just so high. Like people look at a card like Starmie and they're like, oh, this is so obviously clearly a good card. It's 2 cost 90 damage. And then they'll look at a card like Marowak, which is 2 cost expected value 80. Granted, 25% of the time it's 0, but 25% of the time it's 160. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just saying the math on Marowak is so good, and it feels so good to play too. Obviously, there's low roll scenarios where you hit your zeros, 2 turns in a row or something like that. But mathematically speaking, his expected value is so good. How much health does he have? I can't tell on the graphic.
I think it's 160. Is it? No, 140. Let me see.
No, it can't be 160. If this is 160, this is going in S tier. Okay. There's no way this is 160.
Hold on.
This is gonna be 140.
I failed my.
It's comparable to Starmie, I think.
Comparative with Starmie. Oh, his health. It's 140.
Yeah, okay, 140. Yeah. It's just like the card is so similar to Starmie, but has like the upside of sometimes just dealing 160 damage. I
don't know.
I like Marowak a lot. I think Marowak is at the very least B, and I think there's a good argument for him to be A.
No, he's not A. He's not A. I can agree with he's not better than well, maybe he's better than Alakazam. Okay, we could do this.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. I can get behind that.
Okay,
it's wrong, but I can get behind it. I'm closer to getting behind this than putting it in C.
Yeah, okay, we'll put him above 18 Trainer. We could do this. I think Dragonite's better than him, though. I think that's fair, isn't it?
It's weird because Marowak is like he's keeping like a lot of potential strategies in check. Like, how sad is, we haven't talked about like Moltres Charizard yet, but a deck like Moltres Charizard that just wants to put something in the active and spend some time to get set up, how sad are they when you just Bonerang them on turn 2? Aren't they just super sad? They just lose the game 25% of the time because you're running this card. It's like, it's such a unique check on the game and what decks are allowed to be played just because this thing exists. But I don't know. In a vacuum, I'd say that Dragonite is probably better though.
I feel too many coin flips. I don't know. I like Machamp more personally, but maybe I'm just biased towards Machamp. I love him. I don't know why.
How much damage is Machamp doing? Is that 120?
Yeah, 120 with the perfect. He's also 180 HP. 180 HP. And Machoke hits for 50. So you're doing 20 with Machop, you evolve, you do 50 with Machoke, that's a total of 70, and then 190 with the Mega Punch. I don't know.
There's a stage 2 in there, 3 cost investment,
okay, all right,
high retreat costs, right? A high retreat cost on the entire
all right, okay, yeah, he costs 3 to retreat, yeah, and Marowak's 1 to retreat, that's a big bonus, that's a really big bonus. Yep. Yeah, okay, all right. You've proved your point. Okay, let's move on. Wigglytuff. You're not a Wiggly fan. I know this. You leaked it. I love Wigglytuff. My favorite thing to do lately is just put a small energy requirement frontline, like a Beedrill or like a coughing wheezing, I guess, as well. And then you just pair with Wigglytuff, and your frontline's like stalling, doing a little bit of damage while you're building up your Wigglytuff. And then you just hit them for 80 and you put them to sleep, and they never wake up. And Wigglytuff is quite healthy, and yeah, it's just a very flexible card. I've done Executor Wiggly, that also feels pretty good, but Wiggly's like a splashable card. So I feel a little bit weird kind of grading this, because I feel like I'm grading this as an EX, not as like a deck, because there's no like Wiggly deck, in my opinion, that like Wiggly just is so flexible. It's like a splashable thing.
Yeah, I will say, I think the best Wiggly deck I've seen, the deck that has impressed me the most is the Koga stuff, where you're just running like Wheezing, Wigglytuff, and Wigglytuff is like your finisher.
Yeah. It's like instead of Arbok with the corner, you're doing Wiggly with the sleep.
Yeah. I wish we were doing this episode, this like tier list thing, after the new Wigglytuff, the Datamind Jigglypuff gets released. Because I wonder how much that'll change my evaluation. Because right now I think Wigglytuff kind of sucks. But I could see a world where your deck is more committed to like sleep as a strategy being a lot better when you have that basic Jigglypuff that is a lot, in my opinion, a lot better than the current one we have. Yeah, and then we do have that issue where she's such a splashable card where it feels weird that we're the rest of these we're rating like a specific deck, but with Wigglytuff it feels more like we're rating her as a card. Where do you want to put her?
I would put her in B tier. You don't think so? I just think okay, you want C. You want C tier. You want her next.
She can
to
be
the
like
Machamp.
the top representative of C, you know? She can be the best C tier deck.
Okay, looking at Alakazam and Marowak or Dragonite, I can see that she's maybe C instead if we're putting those in B. So I think this is valid. But I think once we find like the proper deck for her, and then also with Jiggly, the singing Jiggly is going to be so good. It's going to make this so much better. Because right now, the main drawback of Wiggly, I feel like, is you get a Jiggly in the front. And she's kind of useless. But with a 1-cost sing, that's going to be amazing. Like, I might stop playing Kang in all these decks. I might just do Jiggly and just sing them.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Jigglypuff might be the new... Just, you need a thing in your deck.
Yeah.
It has a 1-cost thing. Just throw it in there. Like, we were talking about Dragonite earlier. There's a non-zero chance I'm running 2 Jigglypuff and Dragonite lists just because... Yeah.
I think that's going to be pretty good, so... Alright, okay, I agree with top of C. Next up, we got Executor, which I also think is another weird one, because I feel like I'm rating the card, not a deck. Because what is an Executor deck?
It's funny, just before you talked about Wigglytuff and how you'd played it with Executor, and I think that's pretty similar to my favorite Executor deck, but instead of Wigglytuff, I run the Vileplume, which is a very comparable card, 3-cost investment. Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff, it goes to stage 1 as opposed to stage 2, like Vileplume goes to stage 2. But Vileplume can be targeted by Erica, which is why I prefer running the Vileplume over the Wigglytuff. And yeah, Executor, I think the biggest selling point for Executor is got 160 health, lots of health, and it can be targeted by Erica. So it's kind of like, honestly, the reason I don't like running Executor in Venusaur lists is I think you want like one really, really good Erica target in your deck. So Executor, I don't think shows up in those types of lists. But as for like an Executor deck, the nice thing, 1-cost investment for your Pokemon. So you want to pair him with a Pokemon that has a large investment cost. That's why people tend to lean towards the stuff like Wigglytuff and Vileplume. And I think it's pretty decent. I want to put it in B.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, I really like Executor. I used to be a bit down on him, actually, but now I think he's quite good. Because, yeah, I think Erica is S tier. I think Erica is the best thing. Best, like, trainer sort of card, I guess, aside from maybe Sabrina. But no, I think Erica's S tier. Yeah, being able to heal Executor is huge. I really like the Vileplume idea, but I also was messing around with like Executor Beedrill, which was surprisingly good because they both only require 1 energy, and they're both really healthy. Yeah,
what are you?
And they can both.
What are you doing with the rest of your energy, though?
Your extra energy,
Where's all that going?
You dump it on Executor, so you can freely retreat him because he costs 3 to retreat. So. Okay. So it actually works really well. All your extra energy, you don't feel bad about dumping it on Executor because then you just pull it out for the Beedrill. You hit with the Beedrill a couple times, you pull the Beedrill back, you put Executor back in, you like heal him again with like Erica, or you switch him with a different Executor. And all in all, it felt so good. And I don't know, I really like that deck. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, I could see it in B. I might put it above Alakazam. Maybe I'd be comfortable putting it above 18 Trainer. You don't? I feel like these are very close.
It's a close call. I think it's a close call. I think they're very, very comparable as far as like power level. So yeah, I don't mind which one goes ahead of each other here. Okay. I think this works.
All right, and on the video format, only 5 decks fit, so no more can go in B. We're gonna have to move something down if need be. But the next deck I want to talk about Blaine. I think Blaine is so good. I used to not really like Blaine that much, but lately I feel like Blaine could just blow things out of the water. He's the best aggro deck in my opinion, and it's kind of wild. I just run 2 Rapidash lines and 2 Ninetales lines, and that's it. And then you run Blaine, you even run Giovanni, and you're just pure aggro. You don't run like any potions or anything like that. You just hope to destroy them before they can stabilize, or even like hit like a stage 2 line. You're just Rapidash, hit them for 70, You might do it again the next turn, or the next turn you're hitting him for 50 instead. It's just I think Blaine is remarkably good.
When you said best aggro deck, you meant like other than Pikachu, right?
I guess other than Pikachu, yeah, other than Pikachu. Okay, but I feel like
just double checking, okay, you know.
Pikachu feels a little more mid-range to me compared to Blaine. But yeah, I guess Pikachu's pretty aggro as well. But with Blaine, yeah, you get Ninetales online, you start doing 120. Like you can one-shot a Pikachu with Blaine.
Yeah. I'm nowhere near as high on Blaine as you are.
Oh no.
You seem very, very excited about Blaine.
I love Blaine.
He has to be better than I'm giving him credit, because I think my instinct is that it's way blown out of proportion and that the card sucks. But there are far too many people who disagree with me, so it must be the case that I'm missing something. I'll put some more time into Blaine sometime over the next week. I don't have a strong opinion of where he should land. I will say if I was independently putting together this list, I would put him on COB.
Oh my god.
You know, do with that what you will, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I want to do more testing with Blaine. I feel like I've done so many like videos on Blaine lately just because he's so fun. And I always just say he's the #1 aggro deck, which I guess behind Pikachu, if Pikachu counts. But I would put him in A tier. Like I feel like he's that good. But I do feel like these are games where you find out the outcome very quickly. Like if you're trying to get wins quickly, like for this event, I feel like Blaine's the way to go. If they turn the corner, stabilize, just leave, like, and then you can come back. But it's like you hit, Ponyta into Rapidash. You're hitting him for 70, followed up by maybe 50 with the Geo. It's like so hard to stabilize from that. You could do 70 into 70. You could do the Ninetales and you just start dumping all your energy. You do 90, you do 120, you do 100, you do 90. Like it's a lot. And if they deal with one of your Ninetales, you put out your other Ninetales, or you put out your Rapidash, and they all retreat for so little. I don't know. I would put this either top of B, which would mean we'd have to knock something down, or I would put it at like A. And maybe I'm coping. Maybe everyone's disagreeing with me, but I think it's way better than Marowak. I feel like it's kind of like around Dragonite level, and since we put Dragonite in B, I'd be fine with this. But this means we'd have to
Hear
drop...
me out. I see a vision.
What's the vision?
Blaine, top of B, Dragonite, move him up.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I think okay, all right. I can get behind this. But we're going to run into some issues here. Koga. And I think when I'm thinking of the Koga deck, it's just Wheezing Arbok.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that because at least in the early stages of Pokemon Pocket, people were putting Koga, Wheezing in everything. So I wasn't sure what deck to specifically evaluate this is. So we're evaluating it from the lens of Wheezing Arbok.
I'm not a Muck believer personally. Wheezing Arbok is just 2 lines of Wheezing, 2 lines of Arbok. You got Kogas instead of X speeds. Maybe you got an X speed as well to pull back an Ekans or an Arbok. But Koga is like a card that Wheezing Koga package. You can kind of shove it in everything and have a good time. But yeah, we're speaking about just the Arbok line here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think I undervaluated Arbok a lot in the early stages of the game, mainly because everyone was pairing it with Pidgey, and I was so convinced Pidgey was bad. So Arbok got hit with like collateral damage there. For me, I always thought Arbok was quite bad, but just running it in this type of deck, I think is super acceptable. I think it's pretty strong, or it's definitely a lot stronger than I originally thought. Where do you instinctually want to put it? Because I don't have like a super strong opinion yet.
So I feel like I used to think this was a lot better. I've been seeing it a lot less lately, but it does like 2-shot Pikachu. It 2-shots Mewtwo if you're just using Arbok, you know? Also, I think, isn't Mewtwo weak against you? I think Mewtwo's weak to darkness, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. It's got some good matchups against the meta. It does not have generally enough damage against grass stacks like Venusaur because Erica just cancels your Arbok, essentially. But in the Pocket Invitational, Raven won against a Executor Venusaur deck. He just played it really well, so it can win. It does struggle, I think, against a lot of things maybe super healthy things, but I think it's mostly grass that it struggles against. Might struggle against like Charizard, I guess. But instinctually, I would put this at like towards the top of B. I would put it above Marowak personally. Even though Marowak, if you roll 2 heads, you one-shot anything in it. I just really like getting that wheezing out early. You gas them, you start tackling things, and then you Koga, you bounce, you bring in that Arbok to kind of lock them in and get that point. So I would put him in B tier.
Okay. Do you want to move Alakazam down to C? Put Koga in B?
Maybe that might be the play. Yeah.
But do we no longer the top of C like we promised her? But
I would put him above Articuno personally. I think.
If you're gonna put him above Articuno, first of all, I don't agree, but we can do it. I don't have a super strong opinion on it. If we're gonna put it above Articuno, we should put it above Executor as well, because at some point we decided that Articuno and Executor were very similar.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with this. I think this is fine. Yeah, I like him a lot. And if you asked me like last week or so, I would have put him in A tier actually. But I feel like the meta has somewhat shifted. Yeah, I think.
Don't worry, in 2 weeks you'll be where I want to put him, which is D tier. Okay. So,
no. You want to put him in D? That bad?
Okay, maybe not D. Maybe not D.
No.
Bottom of C.
I also love how funny it is. I think he's the bounce is just so much fun. I guess now it's a bit more played out, but I still enjoy the bounce. Like healing your wheezing like 100 sometimes. Essentially, it's just so much fun. Also, if you just have wheezing on the board and nothing else on your bench and you use him, it's really funny. Because you lose. Anyways, let's go with Charizard here. Now this one, my opinions on this one may ruffle some feathers. I played a lot of Charizard today, and I think I suck at flipping heads. I think I did, not even joking, 6 Moltres in a row, and I got all tail.
Well, mathematically speaking, that's very improbable, but it happens on occasion. I really like Moltres Charizard. I think that, again, it's kind of similar to the Marowak thing, where people, they don't like the bad RNG that happens, but mathematically speaking, the math looks good, right? Moltres, usually you want to attach 2 energy to Moltres, so that you can pivot into either retreating or hitting up the Heat Blast. And if you're doing 2 energy on Moltres, you've done Inferno Dance twice. The expected value from 2 Inferno Dances is 3 energy, which happens to set up for Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard perfectly. So all of the math seems really, really compelling. Obviously, you need to draw your Charizard stuff, and they don't really have like a good way of searching for their stage 1, stage 2. So there's a little bit of a, do you draw it in time? Do you not draw it in time? But if you do draw it in time, Charizard is like an unstoppable beast. He has so much health. No one can one-shot him. He can one-shot literally everybody. And even when he can't one-shot, he's got a 60 damage attack. Maybe you didn't set up enough energy to be able to do 2 Crimson Storms in a row. You can go Crimson Storm / or Crimson Storm, / Crimson Storm. There's, it's similar to the Venusaur, the Dragonite. He's one of those Pokemon that once you have him in play and you have him set up, it's extremely unlikely you're losing the game from that stage. It can happen, but most of the time it won't.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Where would you put him?
Oh, man. That's a great question. I feel like you're not going to like it, but I want to put him in A. I think he's very comparable to Venusaur.
We could put him in A. I think I had a streak of bad luck today, and it made me.
So you're a bit biased, maybe.
Yeah, it made me a little upset with Charizard, but I think putting him in A is fine. I think he might be. Is he above Dragonite or below Dragonite? You said comparable with Venusaur, so probably like right next to him. Maybe. Yeah. Do you think he's above Venusaur? He definitely beats Venusaur, assuming everything goes right.
My personal evaluation, but you're not going to agree with how I arrive at this conclusion because you don't like the Caterpie, but the conclusion that I come to is that Venusaur's better because Venusaur has the utility of Caterpie to find his line more consistently, where Charizard just has to draw his line and doesn't have an ability to continue to search it in the same way that Venusaur does with Caterpie. But you don't even run the Caterpie, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we could put him at A. I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is gonna be interesting. This next one, we got Arcanine here, and Arcanine's been performing well in like a recent tournament. And I tried it today as well, and I think he's pretty good. He's way better than I thought. Basically, you're just replacing your Charizard lines with your Arcanines. It's just 2 Moltres, 2 Arcanine lines, and it's a bit more consistent than Charizard in the sense that Charizard is a stage 2. Arcanine is a stage 1. You do a lot less damage, 120 as opposed to 200, and you're hurting yourself for whatever reason. But it's enough to one-shot a Pikachu. So if you're seeing a lot of Pikachus out there, you one-shot the Pikachu. If you're running Giovanni's, you can one-shot a Starmie EX, even though there's not that much Starmie EX out there. So you can actually like beat Starmie, which is generally pretty good. You do require 1 less energy than a Crimson Storm, so you can get online just a lot quicker. And I was thoroughly impressed by it. Maybe I just got more lucky with my Moltres head rolls when I was playing Arcanine as opposed to Charizard. And I think you said you haven't really messed too much with this one. I'm tempted to put this one in bottom of B, top of C, and because our B list is full, and I don't think it's better than Articuno, I might put it in C. I think the reason it did so well in the tournament is it stomped Pikachus. I didn't watch the tournament, so maybe other people know better, but it stomps Pikachus. It probably stomps Venusaur as well, so as it's good matchups, it's probably good against anything grass, you know? Like, it could shred that. But yeah, I would put it like C-ish, like maybe even better than Alakazam, like, but maybe not. I really like Alakazam. I feel like our C's are actually like really strong, at least like top of C. I almost want to bump these down to D at this point.
Your Machamps?
I feel like we should add an F, and this should go down, and these two should go to I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the conclusion we're coming to is that Gengar's so bad he doesn't even belong on the list, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Yeah, I mostly agree with your analysis on Arcanine. I do think that there's like an interesting meta call where in this hyper-specific meta, he's like a better decision than Charizard in the Charizard deck. So, you know, there's an argument that really he should be an A, right? It just depends on the meta. Sometimes Arcanine's A and sometimes Charizard's, you know, their position on the tier list is switched depending on the hyper-specific meta that you're looking at. But I would say broadly in a vacuum, this is where these Pokemon should fall, where we have them currently.
Yeah, I think he might like do better in a tournament setting in that sense, where you're expecting a lot of people to bring Pikachu. He's kind of like a counter. But if you're bringing him on ladder, maybe it's just not as good.
Maybe there's a world. I'm not saying we are in this world, but maybe there's a world where you slot in 1/1 Arcanine, or maybe there's a world where you run 2/2 Arcanine and then just like 1 Charmander or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's a world where you try to find a way to put them both in the same deck. I kind of want to do some science with that.
Maybe. I feel like it's like a tech pick, you know, like you just
it feels like a tech option, but you're taking away your Charizard to improve your matchup against Pikachu. Maybe it's worth it though. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't put a lot of time into it.
Yeah, so this could easily be A, top of B. I wouldn't put it in an S, but it could easily be swapped with Charizard or put up in here depending on the matchups.
Part of the reason people are so high on Arcanine right now is just because of the tournament performance. And one thing that general players need to keep in mind about tournaments is that tournaments are hyper specific metas. So cards that would otherwise underperform in random matchmaking are going to overperform in tournament settings because people are usually building their decks in such a way that you can target roughly what you expect to show up. So a card like Arcanine, where all the numbers perform pretty well against a deck like Pikachu, it will overperform in those settings.
Well said. The last deck we have here is Blastoise. And I've actually grown quite fond of Blastoise. I played a lot of Blastoise today. And in the past, I've played a decent amount. I didn't think it was that good, but I feel like he's getting a little bit better. Although he does suck against Pikachu, man. So if you're seeing a lot of Pikachu, you're not going to be too happy about that. Because Pikachu just shreds them. Because it's you just can't get them online.
Who's your partner?
I have been. What did I do today? Today I did. I don't even remember. I did. Who's the I did King. Hold on, I'm pulling up my decks right now. I did Kingstoice. Oh, I did Kingdra. Sorry, Seeking, not Kingdra. Seeking, because Seeking doesn't require much energy. I don't think this is like a very good deck, but it was like a lot of fun. I called it Seastoice. I just had Seeking up front because you only need 1 energy investment, and you just flip heads. It's just like Marowak, but half. And then all the while you're just building up your Blastoise, and Seeking has a 1 cost retreat, pretty healthy at 100, so kind of adjacent to King. But yeah, in the past I've also just had King in the front, and you're just building it up in the back, preparing it to come out. Kind of similar to Venusaur, I guess, in that sense, except you don't have Erica, you cannot heal yourself, but your Hydro Bazooka does one-shot almost anything at 160 damage if you have 5 energy. So if you pop off with Misty, you kind of win. But yeah, it's
I agree.
it's
Blastoise is definitely, like, at least from a design perspective, maybe not like a power level perspective, but from a design perspective, it's very similar to Venusaur in that once he's in play, if you have all the setup for it, he's just gonna run away from the game because he has so much health, he does so much damage. Yeah. My Blastoise deck looks very similar to my Venusaur deck. Where it's literally just Blastoise, and because I'm not allowed to run the best card in the Venusaur deck, Caterpie, I run a card kind of comparable to Caterpie. I run Meowth Blastoise, no Persian, just Meowth Blastoise. Similar to your logic, if I just wanted something low cost to do while I wait for my Blastoise, and Meowth helps me find my Blastoise, and that feels like the best that I've managed to get Blastoise to feel so far, and that deck actually feels pretty strong. Where do you want to put Blastoise?
I feel like I want to say B, but after further, analyzing the list and looking at everything, I think it's C. I think he's C, but he feels strong. He feels, again, like I feel like these C decks are competitive, and I feel like they're pretty good. It's just this tier list, you have to kind of have a bell curve, I feel like, in a way.
I feel like maybe your personal passion for Machamp is getting in the way of the best decision possible. Yeah, there we go. Boom, move Machamp down to D tier. We can move this Blastoise up to the top of C tier, I think.
You think above Alakazam, though? This is where I'm kind of hesitant. I don't know. He might be.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think so. I think he is a bit better than Alakazam. It's a close call, though.
He also dies to Alakazam if you have the Hydro Bazooka locked and loaded. But this was a tough list. How much health does Alakazam have? 130.
130. Okay.
130. And Blastoise is 160, I think. Blastoise also one-shots Charizard. He one-shots a lot of things, I guess. Mewtwo,
he one-shots
Pikachu.
Everything but Venusaur, right?
Yeah, everything but Venusaur.
I guess Machamp.
Oh, yeah, Machamp. Maybe we should move him back to C.
I think this looks pretty close.
Oh, 180 HP. Sorry, 180 HP on Blastoise. That's a lot.
Yeah, the guy doesn't die, man.
Yeah,
what's killing him?
Also,
that's why I like him so much.
He could surf for 2. Like, that's kind of cool. Venusaur and Charizard both need 3 energy investment before they could start doing something. Whereas Blastoise, you just pull him out, you surf, and then you Hydro Bazooka, and it's like, boom. This was a hard list.
Good.
I think we did good. It was hard. And I'm like looking at the C's, and I'm like, I like these. Like, these are pretty good. I feel bad putting them in C tier.
Looking at the
and
B's,
Machamp.
I'm seeing this Koga card, and I'm thinking maybe Koga should be down at C. How do we feel about that?
You want to put Koga in C, top of C though? You think he's bottom C? He's so good against the meta. I think he's another like kind of tech pick. See, I think you also need to play with Marowak more and realize he kind of sucks.
I've played with a lot of Marowak. This card is so good.
Well, you're good at flipping heads. I think that's what it is. But we're running too long. This is over an hour. We gotta cut it.
Okay, let's get out of here.
We gotta cut. We gotta get out of here. All right. Leave comments saying how you would change this tier list. This is actually a beautiful bell curve. 2, 4, 5, 4, 2. I like it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right. Say goodbye, Willow.
Bye.